Hi, and thanks for joining us. I'm David Kassnoff, and this is the Kodak Close-Up. If you've picked up a travel guide or a magazine in the past 20 years, there's a very good chance you've seen the work of photographer Peter Guttman. He's turned a boyhood ambition to visit every continent into a career of discovering new places and new ways to photograph and write about them. In this Kodak Close-Up, I talk with Peter about his distinctive approach to photographing exotic destinations and the people he encounters in his travels. Peter also talks about his passion for Kodachrome and now Ektachrome films, and how he has expanded his palette as new films emerge. So join me now in a Kodak Close-Up with Peter Guttman.
Well, for me, travel is a pathway to discovery, and so the ultimate sense of an adventurous trip would often be the kind of experience that provides the most extraterrestrial experience. One where you are completely unfamiliar with your surroundings, the culture, the landscape. And that being the case, I would say traveling through Papua New Guinea and seeing these indigenous people, many of whom have not even been discovered by the outside Western world till the 1980s. That was an astonishingly wonderful experience for me. In landscapes, Antarctica I love. I think it's an extraordinary place with endless variations in color, in wildlife, the drama of it, and hardships photographically for sure. Just keeping your equipment going in 40-degree below zero temperatures is quite an arduous accomplishment. The more time you spend with photography, the more sophisticated your awareness is, your visual acuity, and how you perceive the world. I have a particular fascination with attempting to get perspectives that one would not ordinarily get. And so I like to use sometimes my tripod as a fishing rod and have it dangling outside of fast-moving trains with a wide angle, so you get the sharpness of the train with perhaps a model looking out a window and that wild whoosh of scenery going by on the outside of it, and the kind of perspective that you just wouldn't be able to ordinarily achieve. So I would, in my travels, integrate photography as probably the most critically important part of my adventure. And even before assignments came rolling in, I had that compulsion to artistically record what I was seeing and taking it to some extreme degrees and trying to get magnificent imagery, especially amongst hidden cultures and remote landscapes that most fascinated me. And so I was compiling all of this and also giving slideshows at the same time. I had at one point done about 50 covers for Fodor's travel publications, and the creative director came to one of my slide presentations and he noticed that I had an extraordinary diversity of rather unique and imaginative lodgings amongst my slideshows, and he asked me to give a presentation at Fodor's for a possible book. They were looking for a more kind of conceptual and personal vision amongst their more dry standard destination guidebooks. And I came in and I gave a slideshow, and based on this verbal narrative I did with the imagery, I was given a contract for my first book before having to write a single word. And that book did so well that I had a contract drawn up for 2 more books right after that. Back in 1971, when I first went on my first cross-country trip in a van that I outfitted with a friend and traveled for a couple of months, I was shooting then negative Kodak film. But before long, I'd say maybe 2 years later, I started switching over to Kodachrome. And really, I think it was Kodachrome that kind of provided a visual crib that nurtured me and my familiarity with lighting and with color, and really helped to kind of bring a sense of sophistication to my way of looking at the world in a visual sense. I shot and still do shoot mostly manually, very rarely program or automatic, and that has taught me a lot of the creative tricks that I'll use in photography. But Kodachrome also helped me to kind of understand how I could soak up the most amount of color, what techniques I could use, and I really became incredibly sensitive to being able to pick up color on film, because it wasn't one of these films that was like, it was on steroids, you know, so you really had to kind of look carefully for your color and then kind of maximize that effect as much as possible. And Kodachrome wound up being a wonderful tool for that. I actually stayed with Kodachrome for a good 16 years solid and exclusively. And I learned that film inside and out, and I really liked it that way. And I recall I was on a trip in Mauritius and running low on film, and I was with another journalist, and he lent me some Ektachrome film, and I found it a great alternative. But what I have mostly been really enjoying in the last recent years has been Ektachrome 100 VS, and that has, I think, provided the richness and the saturation that nowadays picture editors seem to really look for without having a phony, unnaturally cast coloration to it. And I love it. I love the Ektachrome film. You know, like all things, progress continues to give us an evolution into new areas, and you just kind of have to adapt to the changing times and circumstances. This past 10 years has proven an extraordinary time for changes on every level of society and the products that are available. And, you know, Kodachrome was absolutely wonderful in terms of the archival durability of the film. That's probably what first started me with Kodachrome, was I wanted to feel like I was using the gold standard of reliability. And but you know, there have been such strides made now in terms of archival qualities in other films, and I find that it's time sometimes to move on. I think it was just a very tiny percentage of users, maybe 1% of all shooters were using Kodachrome, and it was just no longer financially viable to continue producing it. I think probably Kodak kept faith with its users far longer than most companies would under similar situations. You know, as I got older, I saw that I was being let down in the mortality span area. I always thought by the time I reached this age, you know, they'd have some kind of invention so that you could live for a couple of hundred years. And I have found out that the only way I could kind of get my revenge with Mother Nature is just to live as many lifetimes as possible. So I have been out there trying to basically gorge myself on experiences wherever I can and try to compile records of the beauty that I'm fortunate and blessed enough to see.